man who knows how to live life is not scared of life. Sri Thakur Ankur Chandra went on to say, look, the man who knows how to swim enjoys water because he is in control. The man who knows how to live life enjoys life because he is in control. That's the beauty of being in control. The man looked at Sri Thakur and asked, how? How is this possible? Sri Thakur said, it's simple. The man who knows how to swim goes to a swimming teacher, learns how to swim from him, and he becomes an expert swimmer. The man who wants to learn to live life, has to go to a life teacher from whom he can learn how to live life, how to exist and expand, how to live and grow. And he has to go to a master of being and becoming, who can help the disciple learn the technique, the art of living life. And today, we all are here. We're assembled here to talk about this master of being and becoming. Sri Thakur Ankur Chandra. People might ask, there are many scriptures, there are many books. Today there is ChatGPT, I was talking about it. Today there are libraries, there is internet, there is Google, there is YouTube, there is plethora of knowledge. Why do I have to go to a master? I can learn everything myself. Only thing that I can say, the only simple thing I would like to say to all of you is, yes, we can learn a lot by reading books. We can ripen a mango by using the calcium carbide, and the mango can ripen. But it's never going to be as delicious as the mango which ripens naturally in the tree. We can learn a lot by reading, by accessing internet and Google and ChatGPT, but we can never gain wisdom without the mastery of the guide. Krishna Prasanna Bhattacharya, Sri Thakur Ankur Chandra's disciple, he was a famous scientist, as Chandrasekhar Bhai said. He asked this question to Sri Thakur Ankur Chandra. Thakur, why do I need an intermediary between God and me? I can pray to God directly. Why do I need a guide? Why do I need a master? Why do I need a guru? I can worship God directly. Sri Thakur Ankur Chandra looked at him and replied. He said, Kestuda, what is the relevance of God in my life without that man? Without that teacher? Without that guide? What is the relevance of God in my life? Kestuda, when we talk about poetry, you remember Rabindranath Tagore. When you talk about love, you remember your mother. When you talk about cruelty, you remember a cruel man. You understand love by looking at your mother, because she is an embodiment of love. You understand cruelty by seeing a cruel man. You understand poetry by studying the life of Rabindranath Tagore. What about God? When it comes to God, don't you need that man in whom godly attributes have been materialized, have been embodied? To understand love, you need to look at a person in whom love has been materialized, embodied. To understand God, don't you need a person in whom godly attributes have been embodied? Don't you need such a person? And don't you need that man? Don't you need that life teacher? Don't you need that personality? Don't you need that human being in whom divinity has been materialized? By looking at whom, you can understand who God is. Sri Thakur says, who has Shakti, energy, we call him Shaktiman. Who has dhan, wealth, we call him Dhanvan. Who has Gaurav, we call that person Gauravman. Who has Aishwarya, we call that person Aishwaryavan. Sister Thakur says, who has Bhag, we should call that person Bhagwan. It doesn't matter who is that, whether he is a human being or somebody else. Who has Bhag? Sister Thakur will ask you, what is that? Sister Thakur says, the 6 qualities. Who has those 6 qualities? The vigor, strength, power, beauty, reputation, and who has Vairagya, who has these 6 qualities, is Bhagavan. It doesn't matter whether that entity is a human being or somebody else. One person came to Sister Thakur and asked this question, Thakur, but why do you have to surrender to somebody? Why do you have to surrender to somebody? Because if you surrender to somebody, it's like giving up, losing your own identity. It's like losing your own personality. Why do I have to surrender to a master? Sister Thakur said, surrender means giving yourself to someone who is above you. Sister Thakur asked this man, Vivekananda surrendered to Lord Ramakrishna. Did he lose his identity? His identity expanded all over the world. Today he is known as probably the biggest exponent of the Dharma. Hanuman surrendered to Lord Rama. Did he lose his identity? No. He is today known as the worshipper, the devotee, the greatest disciple of Lord Rama. Arjuna, the greatest warrior. He surrendered to Lord Krishna. Did he lose his identity? He never lost his identity because we all remember him as the biggest warrior of the Mahabharata. So surrender does not take away our identity. It expands. It helps us become. That's why we need to surrender to somebody, to a master who can help us take on the path of becoming. Sushil Chandra Basu, Sister Thakur's devotee, he came to Thakur and asked, Thakur, I understand the relevance of Guru and guide in life. I understand the relevance of master in life. But Thakur, how is this possible? God is infinite. We cannot imagine God. How can the infinite, formless, shapeless God appear in a finite human being? I understand the master. I understand the teacher. But how can you say that the godly attributes have been embodied in a human being? God is infinite. The human being is finite. Sister Thakur asked Sushil Basu. He said, Sushilda, have you seen a matchbox? He said, yes. Thakur said, what is the size of the matchstick? Sushilda said, it's very small. Thakur asked, if you spark the matchbox, and if fire emerges, does that fire, or can that fire, burn the entire world into ashes? Sushilda said, yes. If the fire is not stopped, if you don't extinguish that fire, if you allow it to spread, it can go on spreading and spreading and spreading. It can destroy everything. Sister Thakur asked Sushilda, a small, tiny, little matchstick can destroy the entire universe. And don't you think infinite God can come in the form of a finite human being? If the small little matchstick has the potential to destroy the entire universe, don't you think a human being, normal human being, can manifest God within him? Sushil was silent. He was contemplating what Sister Thakur just said. Now we have understood the relevance of the master fulfiller in our life. But I met a friend recently. He said, Surya, why should I have a guide in my life? Why do I need a master? I listen to my own concern, my own inner voice. I don't have to listen to it. My conscience is my right. I said, fantastic. But, my dear friend, all of us as human beings have so many limitations. I asked him, when you look at the sky, what do you see? He said, I see the moon and the stars. I said, what appears to you as bigger? Because the moon appears to be bigger than the stars. But in reality, the stars are bigger, far, far, far bigger than the moon. Our limitation. Our power of vision is limited. When we look at the skies, it appears that the sun revolves around the earth. But in reality, it is the opposite. It's the earth which revolves around the sun. Our vision, our ability to remember, our ability to hear, to see is restricted and limited. So is our inner conscience, our inner voice. Dear friend, had Arjuna listened to his conscience, what would have happened? Arjuna's inner voice told, don't fight. Don't fight at all. Because they're all my kin, chief and kin. They're all my near and dear ones. How can I fight against them? Krishna stepped in and explained to Arjuna the need to fight the war. And he explained to him, he persuaded him that you are a warrior and your dharma is to fight a war. It is our science sometimes which could mislead us. Sometimes which could misguide us. But we need a master in our life. Guru, like Arjuna, had Krishna in his life who guided him and showed him the path. So listening to the conscience always belongs in the Now, we have talked about the master fulfiller, but it's also important for us to know how does it happen? If you have the master fulfiller in life, what happens? How does transformation take place? Sri Thakur Anukul Chandra said it's very simple. He said the mechanism is very simple. The mechanism, and why I'm talking about the mechanism? Because it's important that all of us, as the men and women of science, need to understand the science of man. The man of science today has forgotten the science of man, the inner science, the science of our life. And Sri Thakur Anukul Chandra says, the mechanism of this transformation is a 4-step process, a simple 4 steps. The first one is accept, act, acquire, accomplish. Tharo, karo, bano, wow. The secret of being and becoming lies in this. Accept who? Accept the master. Act as per according to his commandments. Acquire abilities and self-regulation. Accomplish whatever you want. Accomplish happiness, accomplish success, accomplish progress, accomplish becoming, and that is becoming. So the essence of being and becoming lies in these 4 steps. Accept the master in your life. Act as he says. Acquire abilities and self-regulation. Sri Thakur says, to accomplish, you have to become. You have to become able. You have to acquire those abilities. And ability alone is not enough. Along with abilities, we also need self-regulation. Sri Thakur Anukul Chandra, in his young days, was pursuing his medical education in National Medical College, Kolkata. He did not have enough money to take care of his day-to-day needs. So he was living with a few porters, coolies in Calcutta, in the city of Kolkata. And Sri Thakur used to say that these porters, these coolies, used to earn a lot of money. They used to earn 100 rupees those days. 100 rupees is a lot of money those days. And Sri Thakur used to say, but they were earning 100 rupees a day, but by the time it was evening, they were blowing up the money by drinking alcohol. All the money that was earned was just blown away by their bad habits. So ability alone is not enough. Also what we need is self-regulation. Self-regulation and discipline. Character and habits. So becoming is nothing but a combination of ability and self-regulation. Now, what happens once we accept the master? Is there enough? There is not enough. If I frame the picture of Einstein and worship Einstein by using a diya and everything every day, will I become a scientist? I will never become a scientist. Just by accepting Einstein as the greatest scientist ever and worshipping him, I'm not going to become a scientist. If I want to become a scientist, I have to materialize the character, the personality, the conduct of Einstein in my own life. Just by accepting the master is not enough. If I want to be on the path of becoming, the next step is act as per his commands and follow the master. Acquire and promise. What happens when we follow these 4 steps? We acquire abilities, and abilities give us 3 important things. Sri Thakur says, your abilities of self-regulation helps you being in control of your life. Being in control. That is the most important thing. It helps you find solutions to all kinds of problems that you might think of. It helps you find solutions. And it helps you achieve cohesiveness. Because life is all about ambiguity, duality, contradiction. Right? All married men will know the ambiguities of life. Right? You have to take care of your wife as well as your mother. Right? So rest on the lighter side. But these are ambiguities of life. When there was COVID, we were dealing with ambiguities, whether we deal with life or dealing with livelihood. So life is all about ambiguities. This is Thakur says. Anybody who has these 3 things is really able, and he can accomplish whatever he wants to accomplish. These 3 things are called Niyantran, Samadhan, Samanjasya. This Thakur says, if you master the technique of achieving these 3 things in your life, you are progressive in your life. You can truly achieve things and become. It's very easy to understand being in control, finding solutions. I will just quickly share with you one example of cohesiveness. How life throws contradictions at us, and how can we really deal with that? Sri Thakur Kulchandra one day was sitting in the ashram in Deoghar, and he was giving vanis, or he was talking about the creation. He was talking about the universe. He was in a very deep discussion with his devotees. Near that place, there was a factory. The factory, there's some work that was going on. The manager of that factory was sitting next to Sri Thakur and was listening to his discourses. And from the factory, there was a sound that was coming. Thak, 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 thak. As Sri Thakur was speaking, he was giving his discourses. The manager felt that this is creating a lot of nuisance. Sri Thakur is saying so many important things. But these people, the workers in the factory, do not have common sense. They should have stopped the work for some time. So he stood up, ran to the factory, asked all the workers, guys, stop the work for some time, because Thakur is giving some very important messages. They stopped the work. The manager came back, and he found that Thakur was quiet. He was not speaking. There was complete silence. Everybody was sitting quietly. After some time, Sri Thakur asked him, there was some sound that was coming from the factory. What happened to that? The manager said, Thakur, there was work going on, but I asked them to stop. Thakur said, really? Then Thakur became quiet. And after some time, Thakur said, there was a sound that was coming from the factory. And the sound had a tuning. And I had tuned to that sound. And I was speaking. Now that sound has stopped. My inspiration within me has stopped. How profound and beautiful. How profound and beautiful. Normally, as common human beings, we say that was nuisance, that was disturbance, that was disruption. And we want to deal with that. Masters of being in the life can convert nuisance, disruptions into something that is favorable. So there was a sound that was coming which would have been potentially disturbing. Thakur said, I tuned with that sound and I kept speaking. That sound stopped and I stopped speaking. So that's the power of bringing cohesiveness in our life. In the midst of contradictions and ambiguities, we can achieve cohesiveness. Niyantra, Samadhan, Samanjasya. If we achieve these three things in life, we become experts of being and becoming. Now, the question is, how do we accept the Master? How do we accept the Master? For every acceptance, there is a process, right? Every acceptance, there is a process. How do I attach myself to the Master? If I want to attach a piece of paper with another piece of paper, I need some glue, isn't it? If I want to attach a piece of wood with another piece of wood, then I need a nail. If I need to attach myself to the Master, I need the mantra, the holy name. The big mantra. That is called the holy name of the big mantra. That is the positive factor. Sri Thakur Kulchandra says, it is the source code of life. It is the source code of life. And if you have that mantra chanted, that can bring out, that can expand our personality. It is called bees mantra because the word bees means seed. When you plant the bees or the seed into the soil, the roots go deeper inside and the stem and the branches and the fruits and flowers emerge outside. That is the beauty of the bees or the seed. It expands inside, it expands outside. So that is the power of the bees mantra. When we chant it, it expands our inner character, personality, conduct, everything. It expands our exterior personality. We become a holistic, wholesome personality when we chant that mantra. That mantra is received in the process of diksha. When you accept the Master, the process of accepting the Master is called diksha. And many people say, no, I want to keep away from diksha because that's a ritual. I'm going to get bound by something. The only simple answer is diksha is not about getting bound by something. Diksha means, within the word diksha, there is a word called daksha. Daksha is capability, is ability, it is efficiency. Diksha initiates us into a new way of life. The life of acceptance, action, acquisition of ability and self-regulation, and accomplishment in life. It helps us achieve Niyantra, Samadhan, and Samanjasya. That's where the journey begins. Diksha, the mantra, gives us clarity of vision. That helps us move in our direction towards our destination. That helps us get there. That helps us in achieving our vision. Before I sign off, because I know we have a constraint of time, but I want to leave here with something concrete. Something very concrete. Not something which is very abstract. I do not want to leave here with something which is not clear. I want to leave all of you with something very concrete. When we want to accept a guru, when we want to follow a guru, the question is who should we follow? When we want to do a job, we want the best job. When we want to get our salary, we want the best salary. When we want to marry, we want to marry the most beautiful woman or the most handsome man. We want the best job. the best wife, the best husband, the best organization to work for. When it comes to the master, who is the one compromise. We need the best guru, the Sadguru. A roasted brinjal cannot roast another brinjal. Sri Thakur says the roasted brinjal cannot roast another brinjal. The roasted brinjal a spiritual man cannot necessarily make another person spiritual. Because who is spiritual? The true master, the true Guru. And in our Shastra, in our Vedas, such a person has been described as the Purushottam, as the manifestation of human perfection, the most evolved, most reformed, most transformed personality of the age. Such a person is called Purushottam, and we need to accept that Purushottam, the prophet of the age, the most evolved person of the age. When Sri Thakur's disciple, Dr. Revati Mohan Biswas, went to the United States of America, there was a question that was put to him that India has many gurus, many sadhus, many prophets have come to this world. Why is Sri Thakur in this country? Dr. Revati Mohan Biswas replied, 20 years ago, if you wanted to travel to Chicago from New York, how much time it took? Some of them said 20 hours, 30 hours, 14 hours. I said, yeah, how much time it takes today? They said, today we can fly in 2 hours. That's what everything on this was saying. It is the latest mode of transport which can take you to a destination in 2 hours. It is the latest property that you need to accept. The latest master who can teach you and teach you and teach you, guide you of the needs of the present kind that we are living in. That's why the Purushottam of the age is the one that we will accept. I would like to leave that thought, concrete thought with all of you. If you really want to be on the path of becoming and becoming, if you really want to transform our life, achieve emancipation of our life, then we must accept the Purushottam, act as per his commandments, become able and accomplish whatever we want to accomplish in our life. Once again, I pray at the lotus feet of my Master for the well-being of all of you, your neighbors, the entire human kind.